You check it, Betty.
Good evening, everyone. The hour of 6 o'clock having arrived on this 1st of July, 2025. It is my honor to call to order the City of Racine Common Council. The first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Can you please rise if you are able to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first order of business is actually, before we get the minutes approval, President Horton, do we have any excused absences for the evening? Not at this time. Not at this time. Okay, then President Horton, it's time to entertain a motion to approve the council proceedings or minutes from June 17, 2025.
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion to approve it, seconded by Alder Horton or Harmon. Any discussion on said minutes? Seeing no discussion on the minutes, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. There are no proclamations for this meeting this evening, so we will move on to public comments. I will refer to the clerk and ask her to read the procedures and policies on our public comments.
The public comment segment is an opportunity for citizens to speak directly to the Common Council. Speakers will limit their remarks to 3 minutes. There shall be no dialogue or interaction between the speakers and elected officials or staff. This time is not intended to be a debate or discussion. The Common Council shall not hear personal complaints or attacks against any city employee or elected official or any matter related to an individual, claim, citation, appeal, or lawsuit. Profane, disruptive, threatening, or conduct that otherwise impedes the safe, orderly, and effective conduct of the Common Council meeting is equally unacceptable during the public comment period as it is during all other portions of city meetings. When a group of people representing one viewpoint wishes to address the council, one person should be appointed the designated speaker for the group. Candidates for public office may not use this opportunity to campaign for office. Speakers during the public comment period shall follow all rules of the Common Council and rulings of the chair, including a decision to terminate the remarks if the speaker does not adhere to these rules. Public comment should be limited to ideas or concerns regarding the city of Racine. There will be 12 speakers this evening. The first speaker is Tad Ballantyne, 2300 Washington Ave.
First speaker is coming up. I just want people to know there's a 3-minute clock that you will see on the screen. When your 3 minutes are up, your time comes to a close. That is not a reflection or a commentary of any of the public comments, but an effort to treat everybody fairly and give people up to 3 minutes should they decide to share with us their views. Mr. Valentine, you proceed.
Okay, so this is a little awkward, as I usually pretty much agree with everything the mayor does. I'm a big supporter of his and the real estate development he's done in the city. But I've also been neighbors in Uptown, bought 10, 12 buildings 15 years ago, didn't know what I was doing and fixed them up. And I noticed my neighbors down the street were doing some work and they were kind of buying up things on the other side of the block. So I got to know them, and they worked hard. I saw them committed to the community. They seem to get along with the neighbors. I'm not a big liquor fan. I'm not a big snack fan, overpriced snacks, and I'm not a big comparing gas things. But for some reason, they want to go into the gas station business down the block. I would not recommend that to them, but that's their business. And I went in and I saw their drawings, I saw what they wanted to do. They've already bought a dilapidated building next to Popeyes and are willing to spend a couple $1 million. And for the life of me, I can't figure it out. But if they're willing to do that and improve that building, which would cause the surrounding buildings, people to look at that, maybe reinvest in that, maybe raise taxes. I have to support something like that. And I would say to all the aldermen, isn't that something we want to do? Now, there might be some reasons, I don't know, there might be another development plan, I'm not privy to it, but just on the surface. Given their track record of a dozen years reinvesting, there's no question that they don't do it right. They don't seem to ask the city for money, so they're reinvesting their own money. How can you deny somebody who's willing to invest in the community to do that on a terrible piece of property and fix it up? Thank you for your time.
The next speaker is Ann Yest, 2113 Superior.
Hello, my name is Ann. I have lived in this city my whole life. I am a licensed real estate agent and I've been that for the last 15 years. I've dealt with rental property, buying and selling. And one of the things that I know about our city is there is a lot of vacant things. Vacant lots, vacant buildings that have sat around for far too long. And if someone is willing to put forth their own money to change a property that's been vacant for, at least in my lifetime that I can remember, over 20 years, I say let. When you're driving from I-94 down Washington Avenue or Highway 20 to come to our wonderful downtown that we try to promote, it should be a good path that people see, not empty buildings that are dilapidated, not buildings that are run down. And if they're willing to take this property, which was a gas station prior, I think that that's great for them to do. When you have a gas station and it goes vacant, not at just everybody can take on the project, because you have things in the ground that are considered non-friendly to a lot of developers. So let them do what they want to do and they'll take care of it right.
The next speaker is Mary Shiro, 913 Lathrop Ave.
Hi, my name is Mary Shiro. I live at 913 Lathrop Avenue. Thank you for letting me speak today. I'm here for two reasons. The first is about the money that we keep saying is a waste of money. I'm involved in the suit against the city of Racine, and the city has hired a company to see if we are the spouse of a retired employee or survivor of one. I am already being ripped off because my husband passed before he could give his deposition. His time and place were all set for him to give it, and I was not allowed to go, even though I'm the one who did the figures with. So are you justifying the waste of money we are supposed to get to pay for this company? I've had this policy for 50 years. This is a total waste of my money as a taxpayer that I'm supposed to get. Second item, is the new insurance that non-represented employees are to receive unless you older people vote different. Have you done your research about the company? Do you, as an older, or does the mayor get insurance from the city? If you do, I hope you do your due diligence. This company has only been in existence since 2017. The owner of this insurance was started by a growth equity firm. All the investors in this company are venture capitalists. It is not a publicly held company. The only people making money are the leadership board. On this board, there is only one position. Please do your due diligence and read up on the leadership groups they have. Based on Reddit discussion, please read about how negatively they are viewed as a third-party administrator for self-funded employer health plan, which is what the city has. The sad part is, it's not even in the entire state It's only along the coast of Lake Michigan. What if you're on vacation? They said it would cover ER visits. But we all know they would refuse to cover if you just have an earache. Because that is not considered an emergency. Please check into all of this before you make a huge mistake by voting it in. Thank you for your time. We have a lot more I'd like to say about something, but I ran out of time. Thank you.
The next speaker is Michael Schrader, 1636 Chatham Street.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? I know the microphone may not have the work. We have one asset in this city, one, that people will come from other places to see. And that's North Beach. And guess what? They're not coming now, because we have made national news as being a lawless city because of these teenage takeovers. We are letting the local hooligans run the city. And my question is, we have tried for years and years and years with this cockamamie hug policing thing. Is it working? No, it is not working. We are driving people out. Look at all of the vacant storefronts up and down Main Street. And there's more and more and more because people aren't coming here because they're afraid. I have to live in that neighborhood where all the recklessness and hooliganism is coming, and there's some other people there too. We spend a lot of time working on our property, trying to keep the neighborhood up. A lot of people have invested their own money. We had somebody talk about investing their own money. Me and my neighbors, we've invested our own money, and to see the lawlessness, oh, we're gonna go speeding down the street, we're gonna run stop signs, we're gonna be loud at all times of night. It's gotten to the point that I don't want to take my grandkids down to the kiddie park anymore because they get bullied by some of these bigger kids who just think it's really cool to bully little kids. People are afraid now to go to our beach. This is not acceptable. This is the only asset the city of Racine really has to bring in tourists. They're not coming for arts fairs and all that. They want to come to see the beach because a lot of places don't have a beach as nice as North Beach. We were even listed in like Beaches Magazine, I think, is one of the best beaches in North America. Think about that, us. And we're driving people off because of lawlessness. We've got to do something else. Time to shut it down. We tried this experiment long enough, it doesn't work. Get rid of the Department of Community Prevention. Let's put that money into boots on the street. Let's reinforce some things. And you know what? If that doesn't work, close the beach down. Let's fence it off, close it down, put a gate on it, enforce the darn curfew. Because we don't do that, curfew, 4 o'clock, or 10 o'clock. No one pays attention to that. And it's the people who live between Maine and the beach, we gotta suffer the most. I'm tired of finding trash in my yard. I'm tired of having my grandkids woken up with random gunshots and everything else that's happening at night now. No excuse for it. Let's add to the police force. Let's bolster security. Let's make this a safe town that people want to get to. Thank you.
The next speaker is Latana Joshua, 1513 Owen Ave.
Latana Joshua. So I've been living in Midtown and Uptown for like 35 years. It's saturated with alcohol. So we do not need another place where somebody could go where they can hang out and drink. We need a grocery store. Plain and simple. Y'all found investments to invest in a big old hotel down here, but not a grocery store in the neighborhood. That's crazy. That's crazy. And then not to mention, they go to the little convenience stores, they go to Walmart and Sam's Club, buy the stuff for cheap, bring it in the neighborhood and sell it for a higher price. Why? When we could go to the grocery store ourselves if we had our own grocery store in the neighborhood. That's crazy. And then half the time is the stuff is stale. I'm the one that called the health department on 12th Street store and made that video about 12th Street store. It's crazy. These stores is ripping off the poorest neighborhood. But y'all gonna put another one in here. to do the same thing. The same thing, cause ain't none of them changed. And then let's get to these teenagers, what do they have to do? Everything that was in the neighborhood is gone. The Y gone. I used to take my kids to the Y down here. It's gone. Everything is out there in Mount Pleasant. So what is they gonna do? Hang out, right? At the parks, right? Y'all locked up the football field. My son a couple of years ago, the sheriff department stopped him because him and his friends jumped the fence to play football. What is it for? Y'all gotta figure something out because you talk about the kids and basically y'all criminalizing the kids because guess what? They have nothing to do. You can't criminalize them because they want to hang out and have fun. Find a place for them to go. That's it.
The next speaker is Giovanna Liu.
Hey, my name is Giovanna Liu. I've been living in Racine since I was born in 1973. And I'm here to speak in full support of Twins Food, open a market and a gas station in my neighborhood. I don't know where you guys live and what you drive past every day, but me and my kids and my family, we see this decrepitated building that's been there empty for over 15 to 20 years. And I'm asking, why are we denying a business that we see is helping our community, who helps folks thrive, and who's bringing equality to our neighborhoods? See, I don't know what you know about these folks, but when I was a young mom and I had a 2-year-old, they gave me an opportunity. They hired me, they taught me how to become a salesperson, they taught me how to manage a store, and how to become a leader. A leader that many of you count on today to help lead your projects in your neighborhood. The skills I learned working there also helped me open my own business. And they didn't just hire in me, they invested in me. And this is what they have been doing for the 16th Street community for as long as I have been around. And that's just who they are, guys. And so what is the problem with us having a gas station that can give you salads, fresh produce, affordability, an ATM that charges 0 fees, things that our neighborhood, my neighborhood that I live in, and the people I care about live in? Why would anybody vote no to that? You cannot possibly be affected by this or see this if you voted no to a business opening up that we need. This place has always supported the community by providing jobs. Here, you can walk in the store and not have any money and they know you and they're gonna get you what you need. Your kids what they need. This is the type of businesses that we need in Racine. We are broke in Racine. We don't have businesses in Racine. Why are we denying folks that are paying money? This is not a grant. They want to put their own money into the community. What are we denying that for? What are we leaving this building empty for? It's been sitting there for 20 years. It would be convenient to the city of Racine employees. You'd have somewhere to go get you a fresh salad for lunch. It makes no sense to me. And I don't understand. If you vote against it, then we the people who live and work in this midtown community, we want this. We asking for this. So who are we serving if we're saying no to this and we're saying yes to it?
The next speaker is Joey Lagath for Gaslight Drive.
For those who don't know me, don't start that clock. I'm legally blind, so I need to tell you I'm legally blind. That clock starts, you need to cut me off, but I don't need a mic to say what I have to say. So, Twins, I actually don't know them. You wanna know how I know them? Through a buddy of mine who's had done massive works for them. He says that they don't cheap out. 20 years ago, I've been up here against him. Absolutely, it was, I heard things about Twins. I grew up in that area, my dad had a restaurant there. We've had businesses here since 1966. I'm extremely proud of that, I employ 130 people. To do a $2 million investment when we had a Keel who did a big investment for that neighborhood down there, everybody didn't want that. I went and seen his places. Guess what? I backed it because of the way he was. I don't know how they were 20 years ago, I don't care. The gardens, that they own the gardens. My mother was there, never met them before. But I can tell you, my mom got treated like gold and she was 94. So that's what I'm telling you there. Now we're gonna go to downtown Racine. I've been on the bid board for 20 years. Sure, the mayor can take me off because I'm saying something. Beautiful. That doesn't shut me up by any means. That downtown, we need to do something with that, because if you go to places, what do you go to? The downtown. What is the most important thing for us? The downtown. Because that's how we're gonna get tourists, that's how we're gonna do developments. And by the way, being legally blind, it really sucks. To go when they're, and they did a speed thing years ago. Well, guess what? They must have been totally blind. Because if you go out there at 10 o'clock at night, and I think you guys should, otherwise I don't think you guys should freaking talk about whether or not we need stop signs on Main Street, whether or not we need to slow down the traffic. We need to do that. I have one light to pass that says 20, 19, 18, 17. That's ridiculous. Are you kidding me? I could get killed. But hey, that's on you now, because I told you. You can say, woo, whatever. So I also want to say, let's do something with development. We can't pick and choose. These guys are spending $2 million at Twins. I'll guarantee you, they're idiots if they lose that. You can take their license away. It's been done before, many times. So let's not, and all the old men here, we all know how this works. He lobbies you, other people lobby you, you've already made up your mind. But you wanna know what? I'm vocal, nobody shuts me up. Thank you.
The next speaker is Jeff Coe, 1044 Villa.
I'm here to speak on the mayor's vetoing the 930 Washington Avenue project. I probably don't need to remind anyone that I served the first district where the proposed project is being vetoed for 2 decades. I'm here because I've watched this neighborhood struggle, and I'm deeply troubled by the reasoning the mayor gave for the vetoes. In my 2 decades representing this district, my #1 complaint from residents in that area is, what are we going to do with that corridor? So many vacant rundown buildings and blight. It is the gateway into downtown. Finally, we have brothers that have already proved their commitment to Racine. They employ over 250 people in southeastern Wisconsin and have invested millions transforming Twins Food Market into a modern store that serves the lifeline in what was a food desert on 16th Street. They are willing to continue investing their own money in the Racine community to help create a positive impact. This first came to vote May 28th at Public Safety and Licensing, then for final one on the council on June 17th with no opposition. But yet the mayor believes the council is inept to make sound decisions, and the mayor says no. Why? Let me read to you some of his veto language, and you can judge for yourself whether his reasoning makes any sense when weighed against a desperate need in this community. In his veto letter, the mayor states, and I quote, "While I appreciate what the redevelopment of the property might be with the license in and of itself does not guarantee any type of redevelopment. But this completely ignores a detailed business plan and documentation that the Twins brothers submitted showing exactly what they plan to do with this property. Also, think about the logic he's demanding a crystal ball guarantee that every business will succeed before approving any license. If we apply this impossible standard to every business application, we never approve anyone because no business comes with guarantees, only plans and commitments. Now, here's what should really outrage every taxpayer. The city is investing over $200 million in the Lincoln King project. Yet when proven developers want to invest their own money to transform our gateway corridor and eliminate the eyesore residents complain about, they get vetoed. No city money required, no taxpayer risk. Just private investment, creating jobs and serving residents in an area that desperately needs both and increases the tax base. I've seen too many good projects die because of political gains and personal vendettas, and others come to fruition because of sought political gain. The residents in Racine deserve leadership that puts community needs above personal grudges. Override the vetoes and show the mayor you alders are able to make sound decisions. Thank you. On a side note, the daycare center that's attached to Magic Dollar was already there before Magic Dollar got their license for beer, and they've never had any problem.
The next speaker is Dennis Navarro, 418 Main Street.
Evening. I urge the council to override the veto concerning the beer and wine license. Just a few weeks ago, the city of Racine violated its own ordinance and approved a license for an applicant that violated our gun laws and then lied about it on the application. This applicant, to my knowledge, has no such stain on his record, and by all accounts, has been a responsible, community-minded business owner. Episodes such as this, which are happening with unfortunate frequency, are an embarrassment to our city. And it always seems that the mayor's decisions don't rest on equal application of the law, basic fairness, but on political considerations. The mayor's, I guess, enemies, as he must see them, get short shrift, while his friends are offered lakefront parks for development. Is this a coincidence? Judge that. I am not the only one who notices this politicization or weaponization of the city hall. Investors don't seek out investment where they think they might be treated unfairly. We should be grateful for investment in the city, even more so in distressed areas such as the one being considered. I urge the council, in the interest of basic fairness, in the interest of development and investment and tax base, and to avoid additional embarrassment to our great city, to please override this veto. Thank you.
The next speaker is Yogi Blair, 1928 Linden.
Should have put Louis too, but that's just me. So I'm just saying, anybody that's opposed to beautifying Racine, knock it off. Knock it off. Y'all have the responsibility for the visual. It's not about you. It's not about what you feel, how you feel, what you want. It's about what the people want. That's what it should. Knock it off. These people bringing jobs. They're not just employing their family members like most of these businesses. All these people coming out of town, investors, not doing anything for the community, but having their pockets. Knock it off. Knock it off. This is crazy. Racine makes it so hard for small businesses. Knock it off. Thank you.
The next speaker is Ken Brown, 610 Main Street.
Good evening, I'm Ken Brown, Mayor. Thank you very much for having the opportunity for us to speak on these issues. I was really surprised to see that we had actually vetoed this particular proposal. That total station's been there at least 15 to 20 years that I can remember as a blight on our community. And somebody wants to do something without asking for a handout from the city to fix it. Please, by all means, override this veto. A lot of people have spoken the other factor that I don't need to repeat, but I would like to say we've got a vacancy happening real soon, but this finally, after 2 years, way too long, YMCA finally coming down. By the way, the crew that's doing it, doing a fantastic job, cleaning it up every single day. I'm very impressed by that. When that's done, let's not put the city's fingers all over what's gonna happen there. Let's find somebody who has millions of dollars, who wants to come and invest in our community, put something that our community can use on that property, and we can start collecting tax dollars on that property. We have, Mr. Schroeder mentioned how much lakefront property that we have. We have so much lakefront property that we don't collect a nickel in taxes on. We should not have that. I know the mayor had at one point wanted something with Lake Park, got quite a bit of pushback on that, but I was actually on your side on that one, sir. But this is a spot where somebody should be able to put up a $200–300 million building for housing of some level, hopefully not subsidized. And we can actually start collecting taxes on that property, which will reduce everybody else's taxes in our community. And we can get a better control of our community. Thank you very much for having me listen. As you speak, thanks.
The last speaker is Mark Belinsky, 6923 Prince Drive.
Good evening. And I don't wanna reiterate all the stuff that other people have said, but I urge you to subscribe to Mayor's Veto on this particular matter. I've known Shar, Ruth, the operators, this particular set, for a great many years. Probably 2013. So at least the last 12 years, they've been in business. When I had a problem with my mother, she needed placement. They were there to take care of it. They do a phenomenal job helping all members of the community. The investment that they make is unwavering. No one will put up their own money to do what they've suggested they wish to do. Now, I know other developers in this community that have built gas stations, built other properties, have revitalized property. Many of them look to do it on the cheap, put Band-Aids on. Not these guys. They're willing to open the wallet, spend money, invest. They employ over 250 people in southeastern Wisconsin. Taking care of people, running an ambulance company, an assisted living facility, a nursing home, taking an eyesore, Becker Shoot. City used to own that. Went bankrupt, got rid of it. Sold it, fire sale auction. They purchased it, revitalized it, probably put several $1 million into that project as well. Again, no handout. You guys are broke. We see the books. We know you're proposing a deficit spending budget. This city desperately needs money. To turn them away is insane. And there are tools that we can use to rectify that situation, should there be a problem. But recognizing the fact that the city's almost insolvent, we're at a crossroads and we have people who are willing to make the investment, it's foolish not to. So it's in your best interest to override the mayor's veto. Thank you for your time.
This concludes the public comment segment.
Now move on to communications to introduce the council. I'll move on to the finance and personnel committee. Alder Lamb, would you like to make a motion and refer these items to the finance and personnel committee?
I wanna. Item 0632/25, I'm moving these items to finance and personnel. Communication sponsored by Alder Harmon on behalf of the Waterworks Commission requesting approval of a resolution regarding declaration of official intent to reimburse costs attributed to the 2026 water main replacement project. Item 0631-25, communication sponsored by Alder Harmon on behalf of the Waterworks Commission requesting approval of a resolution regarding declarations of official intent to reimburse costs attributed to the 2026 lead service line replacement project. Item 0651-25, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason on behalf of the city administrator requesting authorization to commence collective bargaining with the 4 public safety employees collective bargaining units for successor agreements. Item 0654-25, communication sponsored by myself on behalf of the city's attorney's office, submitting the claim of Kevin Torelli for consideration for disallowance. Item 0655-25, communications sponsored by myself on behalf of the city's attorney's office, submitting the claim of secret faucet for consideration for disallowance. Item 0658-25, communication sponsored by Alder Land on behalf of the Assistant Fire Chief requesting permission to accept the operations and safety acquisition assistant to firefighters grant. Item 0659-25, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason on behalf of the Human Resources Development to accept Wisconsin Fast Forward Grant for fire cadet and CDL training programs. Item 0667-25, communication sponsored by myself on behalf of the Finance Department Financial Empowerment Center, requesting permission to apply for and accept a $2,500 donation from Landmark Credit Union for the purpose of funding a kids calendar art contest. Item 0671-25, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason to establish a sister city relationship with Bradford, Ontario. I move to move these items to the Finance and Personnel Committee. Second.
The motion and a second to move these items to the Finance Personnel Committee. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Now moving on to the referrals, Public Works and Services Committee, Alderman Mack, would you like to make a motion on this item?
I make a motion to refer the following items to the Public Works and Services Committee. The first item is 0647-25. Communication sponsored by Alderman on behalf of Preservation requesting to install a Camp Newly historical marker at or 1805 Wisconsin Avenue. 0652-25 communication on behalf of the Department of Public Works. Submitting change order number 1 to contract 2022-033 reconstruction AWO contractors. Item 0653-25 communication sponsored on behalf of the Department of Public Works submitting final payment for contract 2022-033 West Lawn Avenue reconstruction. 0664-25 communication on behalf of the Parks, Recreation and Cultural Services Department submitting change order to contract 2025-072 Green Crest Park fence replacement. 0765-25 communication on behalf of the Parks, Recreation and Cultural Services submitting change order number 1 to contract 2025-050 Highland Park Shelter Staircase removal. And item 0666-25 communication on behalf of Parks, Recreation and Cultural Services submitting final payment for contract 2025-073 Chavez Small Gym Floor Replacement. I made a motion.
Second by Alderman Whitener, discussion on these referrals. Being none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Moving on now to Public Safety and Licensing Committee, Alderman Whitener, would you like to make a motion to refer these items?
Definitely follow those to the Public Safety and Licensing Committee. Those items 0644-25 communication requesting the appearance of Erica in the targets for a new operator's license. Item 0645-25 communication requesting the appearance of Enrique and Vivos for a new operator's license. 065625 communication on behalf of the Public Safety and Licensing Committee wishing to discuss the requirements for operators or agents of a license to provide legal rehabilitation. Item 0660-25 communication on behalf of the City of Racine Police Department for the license crimes report. Item 0661-25 communication requesting any consideration from a formal expression of concern or other action pursuant to the police report. Item 0662-25 communication submitting human side establishment applications for Beacon SBVA Veto located at 2000 Wisconsin Avenue. Beacon S agent. Item 0663-25 communication on behalf of the city clerk's office submitting a new cigarette, tobacco, and electronic vaping device retail license application for Savant Inc. DBA Fast Lane located at 1405 Washington Avenue, Dr. Sear Liam agent. Item is 0669-25 communication on behalf of the Public Safety and Committee requesting a report from the Racine Police Department on public safety issues unrelated to license report.
Second on the motion to refer these items to Public Safety and Licensing, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. We have one item for a dual referral to the Planning Heritage Design Commission. Alderman Pete, would you read that item? The bottom of page 7.
Page 7.
Item number 0647-25 communication sponsored by Alden County on behalf of the Preservation and Scene requesting to install a camp utility historical marker at or adjacent to 1805 Wisconsin Avenue. Move to
Move to refer.
refer.
Okay, second from Alderman Townsend. Any discussion on that item? Seeing none, all those in favor of the referral, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Then move on to committee reports. Alder Land, did you have any items for separate consideration? And without objection, the Finance and Personnel Committee report will go on to the consent agenda. Moving on to Public Works and Services, Alder Davis chaired the last meeting. Alder Davis, do you have any items for separate consideration? And without objection, this report will be placed on the consent agenda. Moving on to public safety and licensing, Alder White, do you have any items for separate consideration?
Here I do not.
Without objection, these items will be placed on the consent agenda. Then move on to the Office of the Mayor reports. Alder Horton, would you please read the first item?
Item 06446-25. Communication sponsored by Mayor Mason submitting a veto of the Common Council action on item 0494-25 and item 0495-25 for application for fermented malt beverage license and exception to exceed geographical quota for 930 Washington Avenue, doing business as Fuel and Save.
At this point, if there's someone who would like to make a motion to override, we have that motion will be appropriate.
Make a motion to override veto.
Second. It's a motion to override veto, seconded by Alder Mack. Alder White, would you like to speak to your motion?
All the members have this in the first.
Generally, we like to make a motion to defer, like to defer
I'd like to prefer.
to Alder
First.
Alder Perez, and then we'll go to the Alder from the district who's joining us remotely after Alder Perez.
Thank you, Your Honor. I looked carefully at your veto and the reasoning. The veto of 0494-25, the beer license, not inclusive of wine, was unanimously approved by committee and city council. Alders are elected to approve changes and authorize ordinances in a republic form of government of which we are. And veto of 049525, the geographical restriction, also unanimously approved by committee and city council. Firstly, the beer license was available and no exception needed to be made because it is not an alcohol license. It is a beer and malt beverage license. The geographical restriction, let's consider the current landscape and geographical restrictions. Magic Supermarket shares a wall with a daycare. Olympic Liquor is directly across the street from a children's daycare. Port of Call Liquor shares a wall with a bar and a liquor store. Double Vision is across the street from Aldi and offers beer and wine. The Beacon is around the corner, all within 1,000 feet of each other with no addressing concerns. Thus, there is no issue for the child care concerns. I, as a pastor, teacher, and former law enforcement officer, don't see an issue with this. I understand that concerns raised by the mayor in the community, they are afraid of the drunkenness and gatherings of the people creating havoc. I too am concerned about this. This is a gas station that will sell beer to go. No congregating or drinking on the property is permitted. Thus, a new gas station in the entrance to downtown, which will provide groceries and fresh food, would be a compelling reason and a positive in removing a blighted area by creating a new business. It's important to note that the new business is only requesting a beer license, not a full liquor license, as it was referenced. Geographically, this gas station will be further away from any childcare than any other locations, the childcare locations that I mentioned. This distinction is significant and should be considered in the decision-making process and of the community impact. The mayor also mentioned a restriction on a business on Douglas Avenue. The city erroneously denied them the license because the business already had a liquor license and therefore should have been granted a transfer. Moreover, the introduction of this new business can bring positive impacts to our community, such as creating job opportunities and contributing to the local economy. It is a major redevelopment of $2 million of their own money, not asking the city for anything. The concern about the Planning and Heritage Committee is understood. There is no order of efficiency for review. It can come before or after a project is approved. The committee's only role, the Planning and Heritage Committee's only role is actually to approve the facade of the building, not the purpose of the building. The plans call for a gas station. The gas station will provide fresh fruits, salads, and beverages, as well as groceries. And of course, an upgraded design as you enter the visual of what technically, according to the borders, is downtown. And I confirmed this with City Attorney Mr. Letton. The role of the Heritage and Planning Committee is review of this structure because it falls into the legal definition of what is downtown. I wonder if there were a quick trip, if we would be sharing the same concerns. The developers own Twins Market. There's a grocery store within what is known as a food desert. I checked with City Attorney Ian Pomplin about any formal expressions of concern for Twin Smart. Since they do sell liquor there, there have not been any in over a decade. Let's talk about the developer. The developer, better known as the Twin, the developer currently have 45 properties within the city limits and many more within the county. They are current with all their taxes. This would be a minority-owned business, which we like to promote in our community, and who currently employ 218 city residents and many more outside the city. They're also well known within the nonprofits within the community for their philanthropy. They believe that giving back to the community is tantamount for success and honor within their faith. They also like to keep their philanthropic work quiet because they don't want the recognition. One of the comments on the mayor's veto notice is that there are too many liquor stores and bars in our community. I totally agree with it. However, this is neither a liquor store nor a bar. It's a gas station. Alders, I strongly encourage you to consider this information and override the mayor's veto. Thank you.
Alder Frazier, did you want to speak to the motion?
Can you hear me? I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me?
He's
Yes.
muting and unmuting, but it's not coming through. You might want to come back.
Yeah, I think the volume on the is top.
Might be on the computer. To do that.
Hold tight, Alder Frazier. I don't know if you can hear us. We had a few technical difficulties here. Alder Frazier, what about now? Can you try it now?
Can you guys hear me?
Said that button at the top that says turn on volume. You're not hearing anything.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, it's turned up.
Alright, is it working?
It is. It's now working. You have the floor.
Oh my god. The joy of technology.
Please proceed. You have the floor.
Okay. All right, just want to confirm you guys can hear me one more time.
We can.
Okay. So if this license is strictly, this vote or veto is strictly about the beer license, then I right now would have to stand in favor of maintaining the veto. Since I've been gone, and since this whole thing came about, I've received numerous phone calls from many constituents within the first district about their concern with another business, albeit a gas station, selling beer. In my purview, I strongly believe in bringing business into the first district, into downtown area. We all know that it's very much needed. This building has been sitting dormant for 15 years, and it's past time that we put someone in there to bring business and enhance the community, let alone someone who's willing to invest their own money. I think the concerns that I have been told are public safety aspect of it. We've had shootings on Washington and 12th Street. We've had stabbings. We've had fights down there. And the idea of having a business that sells beer, not alcohol, but beer, and there's really no true distinction between the two from my purview as a current law enforcement officer, that waves a red flag, not to mention the children and the effect that that can have on them, not to say that that will actually happen. The second concern that residents have come to me about through email, text message, and phone calls are the products that will be sold at the gas station. I'm a huge supporter of Quick Trip. I love Quick Trip. I love Speedway. But I also know that the products that they sell are not really conducive to whole foods. So a lot of constituents have raised those concerns. I want to be very, very, very clear for the twins and for the community, those that are there in person and those that are watching online. Um, we all agree that the community needs this investment. We are rooting for the twins. We are thankful for the investment that they have made in the city of Racine. The only thing that is up for contention is this license. If this is strictly about investing into the community and creating a source of fresh food for the community, we're all in. And I can't highlight that enough. We want to see them succeed. We want to see these resources be poured into the city, given our financial standing and the lack thereof of a grocery store. I just think that there is a need to take a pause. And like I told the twins, the procedural stuff that happened or didn't happen, that is something that can be worked out. I just think that we have to take a pause and really look at, what does the community within the first district want? And from my vantage point, a lot of them have expressed concern with this beer license and the type of people that could potentially be attracted. So those are my thoughts for right now.
Other discussion on the item, Alder Pete.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to comment on this item. First of all, I do support the veto of not issuing the beer license at this point. But I do want to point out that number one, all the other parts of the application or the item can go forward. This does not have any direct effect on the grocery store or the gas station. And to echo some of the other comments, I'm afraid there's one. We need encourage the business, and we do need to provide more food opportunities, more employment and economic opportunities in the area, and strongly support that aspect. But I have to say at this time, I have to agree. I've also heard calls from people, I'm not sure all of this, but I appreciate it, I'll take your call, but they're concerned about so many beer establishments in that small general geographic area. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Vogt.
It just gathering my thoughts here, kind of flabbergasted me a little bit that we're talking about availability not of good nutritious food as essentially one of the reasons of concern. But you know what doesn't provide good nutritious food? An empty building. That doesn't do that. All right. More food and economic opportunities. Again, what doesn't provide that? An empty building. We can't just say, oh, you know what, this doesn't fit us for right now, so we're gonna say no, and we'll just wait another 20 years for someone else to come through. That to me is just not logical. They believe enough in our city to continue to try to invest in our city. They're not asking for grant money or federal funding. They're not asking for the city to chip in any way, any sort of way. They're providing their own money. They're backing their project with their own financial resources. This is what capitalism is all about. We cannot preach economic development and economic opportunity and they're employing Racine citizens, giving the opportunity for them to start work. We just had a wonderful speaker that said they gave her an opportunity when she was a young mother, allowed her to teach her the skill that she would need to become a successful professional. It doesn't make sense to me at a time when we could be looking at devastating cuts in federal funding to the city. At a time when pride in our city is so low. And we have these people that clearly love our city. Clearly, $2 million, that's a lot of love. I don't know about you, but that's a lot of love. So we should allow them to share that love that we're seeing. They are community ambassadors. And if they are getting denied on these arguments that frankly just don't hold merit in my view. It's absolutely ridiculous. How can we sit there and try to strive and attract economic development when we have people that have a proven track record of investing in this thing, not a Quick Trip or a Speedway, that are these huge conglomerates all around the country, local people doing local things, the stuff we pride ourselves on. Community jobs, increasing our tax base when we're in a structural deficit. We don't have any money, that's not a secret. We shouldn't make it harder for that. I'm in favor of overriding this veto because I do not think the reasons are merited. Thank you.
All around.
Thank you so much, Alderman. However, I think we all overlooked one thing. There wasn't just that Alder Frazier is online speaking on behalf of constituents in his district that I reached out to him and said that they are not in favor, it's not that they're not in favor of the gas station and the grocery store. We had someone that's here right now from that district that said they don't want another alcohol license in that area. So there's a little bit of merit consideration. The other thing is, when I met with the owners who I love dearly, what they stated to me was they really are passionate about opening that business over there. If they didn't receive the license, that was not going to stop them from opening business or offering a grocery store and gas station. So the points of having that economic revenue coming into that area, offering those jobs and things that people have spoken to eloquently, would still, that opportunity would still be there. So what we have here is, what any arguments have been made in other council meetings, is one, the alderman from that district has made his statement representing the people that voted him into that position. We have a person from that district that lives here and that lives in a district speak on behalf of herself and those neighbors. And we've had, again, the alderman say that he's been approached. Now, I received calls also. I'm not the alderman there. Other alderman people have received calls and communication. So I think we do need to consider that the business will still open. It's whether or not, and the only thing we're considering right now is whether or not the business will open with a beer license right now.
Other discussion on that, Alder Davis?
Yes, first I have a question for the attorney and then I will continue, but. What I know the veto says, for application for the class A. With retail permitted malt beverage license and a gas station service license. What does that and mean, that gas service station license? Would that mean that a gas station would not be able to be open in that location? Could you expound on that, please?
It's an excellent question. I'll ask the attorney to look at, but if you look at item 0945, the first item actually has two components. Now, the intention of the veto was to eliminate the liquor part of it, not the gas station part of it. So it may require us to separate the question. I'll ask the city attorney to clarify that further.
So I understand what you're saying, Alder Davis. When I look at the actual communication that's on the agenda, it says the communication sponsored by the mayor submitting a veto of the council's action on an application for a fermented malt beverage license and exception to exceed geographic quota. So frankly, my reading is, and mayor basically confirms for me, is that he just intends to veto the grant of the beer license, the small class A license, and of course the exception to exceed geographic quota. Did not intend to veto gas station license. So any motion to override would only relate to beer license, gas station license would proceed as approved by the town council.
Thank you for that clarification.
Alder Davis, you still have the floor.
Yes, I have a respectful opposition to the mayor's veto of this application. Let's be clear, this is not just about alcohol sales. It's about access to fresh food, fuel, daily essentials, and neighborhood services that have been missing from the third district and uptown for far too long. For over 15 years, the area at the edge of uptown has remained blight, underutilized, and overlooked. During that time, the community around it, made up of largely Black and brown and low-income families, have faced the day-to-day impacts of the disinvestments. One of the clearest signs of that is the presence of food deserts. According to the USDA, nearly 1 in 8 Americans live in a food desert. In Racine County, over 40% of low-income residents live more than 1 mile from the nearest grocery store. This is not just about statistics, we're talking about a barrier to health, dignity, and self-determination. The project of Fuel and Save is a part of a modern generation of convenience stores, similar to what we have at Pick and Save. This will provide this neighborhood with access to affordable, fresh, and healthy foods. It's not just about a gas station, it's a lifeline, especially in a community like ours, where access has been denied and delayed for too long. Denied and delayed for too long without merit. What is the vision for Uptown Downtown Junction? If not this, then what? How much longer must residents wait for action, while other areas continue to benefit from the city's full attention and investment? Racine must be more than just downtown and the north side. Greater Racine includes every neighborhood, including the 3rd District, 1st District, and the reason I mentioned the 3rd District is because it's on the edge of 1st District. So, okay, we cannot claim to value equity when vetoing projects that expand access and opportunity in historically excluded communities. I urge my colleagues to override this veto. During public comments, there was a number of folks who spoke from 3rd District in favor of us overriding this veto because the access to food, fresh food, is a need. We also spoke to the positive things that Twins does, as far as investment, job opportunities, and there are amongst other things. All I'm gonna say is I'm asking my colleagues to override this veto. Let's say yes to this food. Let's say yes to the fuel. Let's say yes to a stronger, more inclusive Racine, one that works for all of us, not just some.
Alder Burton.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I just want to say this, I can remember the place 20-some years ago when it was total 24. And boy, it was a total 24, and I think I was on the other side of the law. That was the hangout spot for when we left the club, and everybody would come there and be at that place. But I've heard a lot of good things about Twins Liquor. I pass by there every day. I've heard Alder Grace say that she talked to him. I heard Alder Frazier say that he had talked to him. And you know, my thing is always I try to keep my track record the same. I usually agree with what the alder is usually talking about, but it don't sound like, and maybe somebody can correct me, that what is trying to be vetoed has anything to do with fresh fruit or the gas station or what they're trying to do. So I would really say I'm really gracious that building has been sitting there for a long period of time. And I would really, really love, and everybody keeps saying $2 million invest into it. Man, that is wonderful. Because since I've been on this council, we've already borrowed money, we bridged loans, we did everything to put things together. But here's some people coming to say, we don't need the city money, we are doing this on our own. Then there was a young lady that came and said, I wouldn't want this, I won't want it because they're gonna jack up the prices, and which I hope they don't. Because I'm also tired of seeing people go to Aldi's and buy eggs and buy all the milk and buy all the bread and take it to the stores and raise the prices on it. So is that really helping our community? When eggs that would be at the store $3, all of a sudden now it's $6. That ain't helping the community. That's only costing them more. And I see it all the time. I'm in the lines behind people that have all the milk, all the bread, And so when constituents go to those places, they don't have bread, they don't have milk because the owners have gotten that. But not saying that these gentlemen are gonna do it. Because I have to say, most of the people that I've heard about this establishment saying that they are upright people. And I believe that. And I believe that they would do the right things, but I'm asking just like the young lady, and I don't know where she live. I don't know if she live in the 1st district or the 3rd district. She said, I just hope that they don't come into the area and make and raise the prices for the things that everybody's saying that we need. Fresh fruits. I have gas stations. I have liquor, people that have liquor licenses in my district. And what they call fresh fruit is a basket with an orange, with an apple, and a couple pieces of bananas. And I'm hoping that this place can bring fresh meat, fresh fruits, that because it is a food desert. When Save-A-Lot closed, we still don't have a grocery store over there. And we need to do something with the city and move this city forward. And I hope just not having a beer and liquor license, which, to be honest with you, if they had a beer license, I wouldn't be flipping over that they had a beer license. I wouldn't be falling over the chair saying, oh, they got a beer license, because most gas stations do. And so my thought on this is that I'm hearing the alder. I want the alder the alder talked about it, but please, Mr. Attorney, so that the public, that people won't leave here saying, like they came here tonight saying, they are trying to stop them from opening. Please, could you clarify? I know they hear us, but I want the public to hear that this is not what it is. It is not saying that tonight we're gonna stop Twins from opening up this establishment. They're gonna come with a plan. They're gonna let us know when they're breaking ground. They're gonna let us know when they're about to open. And could that something be revisited when they get to that point to say, hey, listen, they did their due diligence, and could we go further like we do everybody else? We do other people in this town. We don't let them get a license. We said, no, you can't get Bucktown, you gotta have a beer license. And then they fold. So it's for what you're saying is that this won't stop them from moving forward.
Mayor's veto only relates to granting of the beer license, the small class A license. And the attendant exception to exceed the geographic quota, it has nothing to do with any other part of their business.
Alder Wagner, and then Alder Powell.
Thank you. If I were sitting in the shoes of the folks that are willing and able to make a $2 million investment in a business here in the city of Racine, and I listen to people talk about them the way they've been talked about here tonight, I would withdraw my investment. We don't know that they're gonna move forward with their investment, with their development, should they be denied a beer license. I can tell you several years ago, they came to the then alderman of the district, Alderman Cole, said they wanted to open a liquor store. The alderman said no. So they proceeded with a development plan and a development that did not include liquor. What it includes is a class small A retail fermented malt beverage, not liquor, license. There's a difference, and even the state recognizes there's a difference between a liquor license and a fermented malt beverage. That's all they're asking for. So we don't know, and are you willing to risk losing a $2 million+ investment in an area that has sat neglected and blighted for at least 15 years, probably closer to 20? I'm not willing to make that risk, because what they're asking for is to partner with the city of Racine, and they're asking for something very little. And it really galls me that we can sit here and assume that people in that neighborhood can't handle their beer. This is packaged beer. They go in the store, they buy the beer, they take it home, they drink it. So, and we're gonna assume that, well, in that neighborhood, the people there, they're gonna hang out in the parking lot and act a fool because they bought some beer. I don't look at people that way. I don't know why anybody in this body who represents people in their district would think that of the residents. I want to talk a little bit about the mayor's rationale in regards to this veto. His compelling reason. For his compelling reason is the council in its wisdom chooses to give a waiver for geographic restrictions. I'm willing to do that. It's a beer license. That's it. for a $2+ million investment of private dollars. And I'm not willing to gamble that they walk away from doing any more in the city of Racine than they've already done. I don't find any of his reasons compelling. He says, this should go to the plan commission. Because the council talks about some plan that city development has that the council has not heard of, we've not seen. I did hear a rumor that there might be an alleged plan that may or may not exist, and it may or may not be sitting on the mayor's desk, and it has been since October of 2024. So we're going to deny a beer license because there is possibly a plan that would say, it can't be in that geographic area, it's too close to daycare or to other establishments. Then the other argument, it's too close to a daycare, is really a reach. This is retail packaged beer. Is this veto really implying that the neighborhood judgment cannot be trusted? That we can't have children around where an adult might go in and buy packaged beer? I can't look at people that way. And then he uses the denial of a license at High and Douglas Avenue, which has nothing to do with either this application or the development, as the mayor has failed to provide any specifics as to why a previous public safety and licensing committee and a previous council denied the liquor license or the beer license, whichever it was, on the corner of Douglas and High Street. We have no idea. And it has nothing to do with this development. And I would remind my colleagues on the council that this pure license passed public safety and licensing unanimously. It passed this body unanimously. And had not the mayor got on his high horse and vetoed this would be a done deal.
State your point of order.
Yeah, so she gets to you hear her point of order, you don't hear mine.
Point of order.
State your point of order, Alder Allen.
It was language. We're not to attack the mayor. The point of order came from over here, and now you're getting a response from across the room. The point of order came from behind me.
And I got the point of order first.
So what is the point of order?
The point of order was, you can make your comments without attacking the mayor.
I'm not attacking
You
you.
weren't, the language was inappropriate.
Just stop your point of order before someone's talking.
Okay, if we could please stop with the back and forth, it's not an open mic. Alder Widener has the floor, please continue with the comments.
So, as I was saying, I want to remind the council now, I'll do it again, this passed public safety and licensing unanimously. We had a public hearing regarding this development in the beer license. And there was only one person that spoke, and they spoke in favor of it. People want this development. And in case any of you have not been into Twins, you ought to stop in and see what they offer to the people that live in that neighborhood. So it's like a little mini Amazon store where several different small business can sell their wares. And why we would deny this opportunity, not only to the people that want to invest $2+ million in the city of Racine on top of all else that they've invested, but also to deny to those small businesses that rely on that store and would rely on this store to sell their wares. For the beer license, it just boggles my mind. And like I said, I would hope that 10 of these aldermen will think about how important private development is for this city. We don't get this very often. And one of the speakers said tonight, other investors see how we handle this. They see what we do. And why would they want to make an investment when one person can micromanage developments to this degree? We don't often get people that come in and want to invest their own money. And I appreciate that, and I'm not willing to gamble that this development is going to move forward if the city can't partner with them on something as minute as a fermented malt beverage license.
Alder Allen, followed by Alder Mack, followed by Alder Frady.
just had a question. Is it appropriate since the owners are here that they speak?
We're not, we're beyond public comment. We don't open up the mic. We have not noticed this item for a public comment or a public hearing. We can't simply open it up to public comment in the middle of the floor debate. Moving on to Alderman.
Thank you. This afternoon, I was with a number of small business owners. When I got there, they were talking about this issue. These are small businessmen in our community that were talking about blight and vacant properties within our city. They were talking about how difficult it is to do business in the city of Racine. They were talking about how they feel overlooked because they're not some big out-of-town developer with a handout wanting subsidies for bringing a project to our community. This is organic, homegrown economic development, and they knew what they were getting into. They were happy to make that investment, but they're also frustrated that it seems every turn of the way that some obstacle is put in their path. And one of the comments was made, you know, maybe the city's not gonna see the return on investment as quickly from us little guys. But long term, there's going to be, you know, improvements in the neighborhood. It's a catalyst for change. They were talking about how blighted the old Total 24 lot looks. I've never, I don't believe, have met the twins. I have never been in their store. 20 years ago, I didn't have a high opinion of their establishment. But I've watched over the years how they've developed the property around them. And the quality of their development. Some people slap a facade on something and it will look okay for a little bit, but then it deteriorates, and that's not what they've done. It's been mentioned, but I'm going to repeat it. This past committee, it came to this council 2 weeks ago. There was a public hearing. There was no opposition. One person spoke against the project tonight. Another person from the neighborhood also spoke, but in favor of the project. I hear several aldermen say, we've received many calls, but I didn't get those calls. The people I've talked to say, what is the city doing? Why are they against this? But I've received no opposition to the project. And whenever I hear someone say, oh, I got a lot of calls against it. In full transparency, who were they? How many were the call? How many calls did you get? Some aldermen that I served with in the past, if they got 2 calls, it was, you know, the entire district's against something. We as a council unanimously supported this 2 weeks ago. I heard no opposition at the time. I heard no opposition from the mayor. It was crickets until I get an email saying that this has been vetoed. Now, anyone that knows me knows, and I have a long history here. I was no fan of giving beer licenses to convenience stores and gas stations and things like that. But I'm also pragmatic. I try to be consistent. And having spent 8 years on public safety and licensing, I learned a thing or two about this. I was not a fan of Total 24. I even told them that maybe they should become Total 20 and close down during the bar closing time. They did nothing to improve the property. Before I knew this project was coming, I was driving down Washington Avenue, I looked at it, and it looked awful. Blighted. And this is our gateway to the downtown. City Hall's right around the corner, and what does it make us look like? I was telling the business owners today, I think if this was a quick trip coming in, we would approve it, no questions asked. And I saw that when I was on public safety and licensing and said, this isn't fair. Piggly Wiggly, Century, Pick and Save, they come for a beer and alcohol license and we wouldn't even question them. And then somebody who wanted to open up a gas station like the Twins would get grilled and ask questions that we didn't ask anybody else. Does my opinion of them in 20 years change? Yes, because they have a track record now. They are improving the neighborhoods that they operate in. Aldermen are not the gatekeepers. We are a voice in our district. Our voice should be weighted, but we're not the gatekeepers. And so while I respect Alderman Frazier's voice on this, I can't support it. It was brought up on this floor here that was beer and alcohol. It's a beer license only. I'm still trying to figure out what the regulatory review is that's still necessary. The majority of people that have spoke to us are in favor of it. And it was brought up about guarantees. There's no guarantee they're going to be successful, but you know what? If they have a track record and a track record that shows that they have been successful, I would put more faith in them than I would in somebody that is coming in with absolutely no business experience whatsoever. The margin for gas stations is very slim. That's why they sell overpriced products. The margin for grocery stores is very thin. And so they're proposing a gas station and a mini mart, I'm assuming one would call it. And they're saying, we want to do what we've done with Twins. I believe 20 years ago, Twins was probably primarily a liquor store, but they've grown, they become much more. So if they're coming in and telling us that we are going to have fresh produce and we're going to have things that a typical gas station doesn't have in the 5 aisles that a typical gas station has, then they're already providing more to that neighborhood. But we don't know if it's a combination of gas, beer, groceries, and any other items that they choose to sell in there that are all part of their equation of whether or not this is going to be a profitable venture for them or one that is going to lose some money. And that's what we don't know here. They came in and said, this is what we need to be successful. But we're saying, we don't trust you. We think that you can do without the beer and be just as successful. Prove yourself. And maybe down the line, we'll approve it. Maybe. No guarantees there. Is this the open for business sign that we want to put out for the city of Racine? Over the last year and a half or so, I have voted about 50% of the time to override the mayor's vetoes. And I have actually voted 50% of the time to sustain the mayor's vetoes. I pride myself as an independent thinker, somebody that looks at the issue from both sides. But on this one, I can't support the mayor's veto. And I would encourage you, if you're on the fence, or if you came in here with your mind made up, that you would change your mind and give them an opportunity to move forward with an investment that we are not subsidizing as a city of Racine. Thank you.
Alder Frazier, you have the floor.
Yeah, it's been said, but I really want to clarify some stuff. I think we, again, need to be very, very clear to those that are there and those that are watching online or however. This is not an indictment against the twins. This is not an indictment against what they want to do. Everyone here on the committee are thankful and appreciative for what the twins have done in our community and what they're willing to do. We understand where we are financially with the city. We understand that it's very, very hard to come by people willingly using their own money to invest into a property that will enhance our city. No one is disputing that. Like, nobody is disputing that. And I think a lot of people have that misunderstood. And so again, the veto is only for the license. It's not going against the project. And if they pack up and leave because the veto goes through, then we have to retool and rethink some things. Like I just said. So again, this is strictly about the license. We all want to see this area of our city get the resources that it needs and not be a food desert. No one is disputing that and arguing that. And so I just that needs to be clarified, because I know that there's a lot of confusion and that there's a lot of people thinking that if this veto is upheld, that the whole project is dead. It's not. It is not. And so I want to make that abundantly clear that we are all in favor for what the twins are doing, and we thank them for everything that they've done. That concludes my comments.
Vote for a second time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I asked a clarifying question from the city clerk.
Please state your question.
Hey, was there anyone absent from the last council meeting that I missed?
I can go back and take a look. I wouldn't have it right offhand because I can't connect to the core zone here. But if you give me a couple minutes, I can pull up the meeting minutes for you.
Alder Bone, the city attorney happens to have the minutes in front of him. If you'd like him to answer.
Yes, please, thank you.
Alder Frazier was excused.
Okay. Okay. So while the alder of the district was excused, he is doing great things, helping to serve our country. There's no doubt about that. And this has been brought up before, we voted last time unanimously. Pass this. Public safety and licensing, there are a lot of times when I disagree with my colleagues on that licensing board. This was unanimous, passed through there. Came to the council. Again, we had 14 of the 15. Passed unanimously. We would not be having this conversation. We would not be having this circus going on right now if it were not for veto. We were all fine with it 2 weeks ago. Now we're not. That to me doesn't make sense. Were we not being studious and doing our due diligence? Were we just saying yes to get it off so we can get home? I find it really hard to believe that this is that much of a concern suddenly when we all voted one way 2 weeks ago. What's that change in 2 weeks? You gotta think. What's the change in there? And if there were something where, oh yeah, well, we didn't catch that. Again, not for the veto, they wouldn't be sitting here. We wouldn't be having this conversation. We had the public hearing, we have public safety and licensing passing unanimously. We had public comments, people for and against it here tonight. And we had the city council saying all the fine folks here. Unanimously. I don't think. And it's been made clear, this is not a veto on the whole project, but maybe they should terminate, that's a risk you take. But think to yourself, what really is the difference between 2 weeks ago and now? You were in full support of it. To me, I think this is just another thing that we've wasted too much time, frankly, because we've already done this, and if we're not for the veto, we will have a conversation. So I would encourage my colleagues to change their mind and support the override. Thank you.
Any further discussion on item? Alderman.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I will always reserve the right to change my vote if I hear or receive information that is beneficial to Racine residents. I will always support the aldermen of the district and their decision on what is best for their district, because that is where they live, and those are the people that they hear from. Because Alder Frazier was not here at the last meeting, we were not able to get his side or his constituent side of this issue. There have been many times we have voted on something as a council, and then residents have gone to the alderman and have expressed a concern, and we have changed our vote. That is not something new. Again, everyone that has spoke tonight, not one person has said, I want this project so that I can buy alcohol. I want this project to succeed because I want to drink beer. Not one person has said, me being able to purchase beer from this facility is the reason why I'm here today. People have talked about $2 million. People have talked about the food. People have talked about how good they are as business people. All of that still remains. And this veto is not going to change any of that. I support the veto.
Alder Thompson.
I just want to echo what other people have said here. We have somebody that has a proven track record of knowing what they're doing, understanding the community, and working to do what they can to better it. I mean, they support nonprofits, they do all kinds of stuff. And again, we just unanimously passed this, and I understand we can change our mind, but what new information is there now from when we unanimously passed this? And I keep hearing, well, just because they don't get their beer license doesn't mean that they can't open. You don't think that plays into their business plan? I mean, I guess I'm just kind of confused because and I'm also hearing like hypotheticals and stuff that we've dealt with in the past, but that's not right now. You can find hypotheticals and past problems pretty much with anything. So personally, I'm gonna vote, I'm with overriding the veto and giving them the chance because the building's been sitting vacant for 20 years. Do we think someone else is just gonna run right up and try to put in a grocery store? Because it's not that easy. I'd love for there to be a full-on grocery store, but it's not that easy. You have to shift things around to make it work. So I think that we should let them continue to do what they've done for routine, but now in a second area. Or a second store.
Thank you. It's kind of a known fact that we don't exactly have developers knocking down our door for a very good reason. I've had developers reach out to me back in 2022 when I was first running. I think we need to take a hard look at that, and the fact that these people are not expecting something from the city and they're bringing to the table their own money. They have a proven record, as everybody clearly has stated here before. Not only are they employing city residents, but they're also supporting local businesses within their own store. Matter of fact, one that's in my district that sells their products in there. I went in there about a month ago when I first saw this on the agenda for the public safety and licensing. To do my due diligence and my homework, and I was blown away at the sheer amount of groceries and fresh food products from all these local vendors. I mean, absolutely amazing. So I think we need to just be able to move forward. I don't know any other restrictions in any other communities, like, yeah, we'll pass your gas station, but we're not gonna give you that beer license. I don't know if everybody is familiar that the county is redoing the entire marina. It's a huge project. They're coming off of 90 on off the highway, coming down Washington Avenue with their boats, stopping at Lee's Deli, getting a sandwich. And where can they stop? They can gas up at the gas station, they can grab a 6-pack of beer or whatever, and head off onto the lake when they have the marina set up. So I think we need to just take a little bit more granular look at this. As far as new information, I kind of question that, being that there was this little meeting that happened yesterday that everybody else wasn't privy to, so I'm just gonna say that. And so I think we need to support our local businesses with a beer only license. And the last comment I want to make is this comment here on the third concern, too close for childcare facilities. I'm not gonna beat this to death because we already kind of litigated where these childcare facilities are in conjunction to other liquor stores or beer license, situations. I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but they actually built a childcare center next to Twins. So that's kind of just a no-go on that conversation altogether, so. You think?
I'll tell you before.
I would definitely take a look at this. We need to support these guys. Sure, they could walk away, but word gets out to other developers, and I don't think they want that stain on us. I think if we, last minute change our mind when everything was good 2 weeks ago, we all got egg on our face.
The discussion, Alder Jorgensen.
Yeah, the one thing that really snaked my sweater on this is the fact that there was the question raised around the planning commission. And so I think we heard tonight that it's about the facade, and I'd like to just turn it over to the city attorney and ask the question here. Could you detail what the planning commission is, because we've heard it called the Planning and Heritage Commission and a couple different things, so if you could just go over what they would be approving with this and what still is outstanding.
The body the city has, the Planning, Heritage and Design Commission. It's a consolidated commission that does all the things that are required of the city planning commission. Plus, the city used to have a historic preservation commission and the downtown area design review commission. Those are all now combined in one. This is part of the downtown area design review, so that body that body will have to consider exterior issues, facade, if there's an expansion of it, if it's something that changes the way it looks. That'll have to be consistent with the downtown area design standards. If there is something, if this is a permitted use in the area, but if there was something that needed additional use, such as, for example, a canopy or gas pumps, that would require conditional use, so that would also go through the Planning, Heritage and Design Commission for consideration. So there may be other approvals that they have to get with regard to exterior factors to the business.
And so I guess I'm a little confused, call me naive here, of how, we get to the point where we're approving a malt beverage license with kind of a question mark of what other approvals are outstanding, what still needs to be done. Is it common practice over the past years that we're approving, liquor licenses or malt beverage licenses? Because my understanding that becomes more of a property right then. It's not like we can just take it back, easily. There's a long drawn out process on how that has to be done, correct?
Right, there is a process, a due process for revoking or not renewing any alcohol. It's word that too. the communication process changed within the last year or so. It's a little bit difficult to say exactly what the history was as far as things moving forward for approvals. I would say generally speaking, the approvals through Planning, Harrison Design Commission and or liquor licensing probably took place sort of at the same time. They went through all the paths all at the same time.
Thank you. And so I guess that's hearing that's what makes it difficult for me now to say, well, we're going to shift and start approving something that it isn't easily taken back. It isn't easy to rectify this if we go down this road. But I don't fault the developers for this. I fault the council. The constant rule changes that seem to be happening, the political infighting, it seems like it's gotten so confusing at this point that we're now looking to approve liquor licenses when we don't know what the planning commission is doing, what still is even outstanding on it. And so to get to this point today where we're discussing what's changed, what's different. There's a few things. I have 2 years. I've heard them tonight and leading up to this. One of them is the alder of the district is saying that he has received calls from the district that his constituents aren't in favor of it. This is someone who recently won election, was elected by that district. So I tend to trust his opinion, as well as we have why the mayor vetoed this. Which one of the items is bringing up the planning commission not running concurrent with this. And it was even brought up tonight that, in response to that objection's been heard or, that's understood. And so I really feel like the fault lies with these flagrant rule changes of, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. Now we're doing this. We just spent the first good chunk of the meeting tonight reading off things that will be eventually going to a committee. And so when I look at this, I'm not opposed to a gas station. I'm not even opposed to the potential of a liquor license there or a malt beverage license. I just feel like to give a property right of a malt beverage license when there's a large outstanding question mark on what the planning commission is going to review, what they have to review, what they're looking at it. I just don't feel like, and I just want to point out to a previous meeting, as other alders have brought up, raising hands may be rude during it. And so I didn't share that opinion, but I just wanted to raise that here again. So I, in summary of it, I do feel like this would be a potentially good project, but it's just irresponsible to approve it when there's this large outstanding question mark that there hasn't been usually in the past, it sounds like, where these used to be done concurrent.
Alder Matt for a second time.
Thank you. We have a young council. We had over a 50% turnover, I think, in the last year or so. And so we've lost a lot of institutional knowledge. I don't recall that previous liquor licenses were contingent upon the planning commission or the access review corridor coming in and approving that before we could approve a liquor license. It was brought up by the Alderman of the 5th that liquor licenses are a property right. They're hard to take away. But the reality is, if we don't give a business, and when we give a license out, we're not automatically giving the business the right to open up. The plumbing inspector has to come in, the fire inspector has to come in, and if any of them see a problem, they tell that business owner, you need to go back and fix this before we'll give you an occupancy permit. And if some reason the Twins can't work with the planning commission and the access corridor review and the facade people and can't come to terms and we don't give them a license to open up, guess what? Their property right doesn't mean anything because they can't sell it. We have given liquor licenses out before to businesses that have never opened up. And you know what happened to those licenses? They were surrendered. They didn't keep it and they couldn't sell it. So I don't see where that argument is pertinent to this discussion, nor do I see it as irresponsible of our council to grant this beer permit to sell packaged beer. Thank you.
Question.
Alder Widener for a second time, and then that's the last person I have in the queue.
Thank you. I'm not sure who this question is for, if it was the clerk's office or for the city attorney's office, but am I correct in understanding that the license for the beer would not be granted until would not be issued until everything else was approved?
You want me to answer it?
I'll refer your question to the city attorney. Or the city clerk.
I almost got out of that one. So
What's it?
there is a workflow designed around both beer and liquor licenses that do require sign-offs. One of the sign-offs is from the zoning administrator. I do not know when he decides to sign off on his sign-offs, if that includes being passed to the committees or not. That would be a question for the zoning administrator.
So license would not be issued until such a time everything else was signed off on and agreed to. So the license would not be a property right until such time it was issued. And it would not be issued until everything was complied with by the zoning department or the building department and plumber and.
Correct, but I don't know what the zoning administrator requires in order to sign off. I can't speak to that.
Not be issued until such time everything was.
I would just add a question that's been called. We've been debating this for some time. If people have additional comments, they feel like really haven't been made and really need to be clarified to help you debate this further, you can continue with your comments. If not, question has been called. I'm not formally going to go to it. I saw 2 additional hands. Let's hear from Alder Perez for a second time and Alder Jorgensen for a time, and then perhaps then we can go to a vote.
Yeah, this is directed to the city attorney. Can you clarify the Heritage Planning and Zoning Commission's authority in the sense that if they say we don't like the way this looks, then they don't deny the project going further, they just have to change to comply with what they want, is that correct?
So for the downtown area design review, yes, there are standards of all the properties that have to be approved. And they get approval to use to, if they want to change the exterior. Somebody just wants to keep it the way it is, then probably can go forward with it. So that piece, for the sort of the planning piece. There are permitted uses and conditional uses. I don't have any idea what this business wants to do that might require additional use, except that as an example, somebody wants a canopy over a gas pump, that does require it. So.
And who approves that?
That is the planning, heritage and design commission. So that's the city planning commission. And if they would have to approve a conditional use permit if the conditional use permit were not to be granted for some reason. I don't know why that would be. Then whatever the conditional use would be, the business could not move forward with whatever that conditional use is, but there are permitted uses in the zoning code for each area, and they can move forward with permitted use without getting permission from PHDC.
So it doesn't come back to us, it's just handled
No,
internally.
that's what the planning here. So
Right, it doesn't come back to us, it just stays with us.
Alder Jorgensen.
I wanted to clarify there because I know that I asked a couple of questions to the attorney ahead of time, and it was mentioned earlier that if they decided to move forward on selling the beer after this is done, they would be able to do that outside of what was done with maybe going through planning, correct?
well, the grant of the small class A license. The purview of the common council is a separate process that goes through planning heritage. So if the veto is sustained, they're not granted the small class A. All of that.
I'm saying if they were to get the license, are they able to open tomorrow or in a few weeks to start selling beer?
assuming they get an occupancy permit, then they could open a store. Selling alcohol and whatever else they sell, beer and whatever else they sell, without having to go through. Because that, if the veto is overridden. And the liquor license, the beer license would be granted through whatever process the city. So yes, do that.
And so I guess that's the part that's getting me on this, where, I watching this, looked like there's a couple of folks up here that were even, shaking their heads no, despite the yes, and so that's where I'm just still stuck on approving this, with these very obvious question marks going. And so, once again, not faulting the developer, I feel like this is a failed process on our end. And we owe it to switch this to a much more responsible process like there previously has been.
That does exhaust the debate on this issue. I just want to go to the question, which is whether or not to override the mayor's veto on item 0494-25 as it relates to the liquor license, small a beer license, and item 0495-25, that is the geographic exemption on the beer license. It does not pertain to the gas station or anything else about the project moving forward. If you vote yes, a yes vote overrides the veto and the beer license moves forward. If you vote no, the beer license does not move forward and the veto is sustained. When the clerk calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Mr. Mayor, can you clarify for the council how many votes are needed to override a veto?
There are 10 votes required to override a veto. When the clerk calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Alder Horton,
No.
Alder Escada,
Yes.
Alder Allen,
It was, yes.
If you are overriding the veto and want the license to move forward, you vote yes. If you are sustaining the veto, you would vote no.
Alder Pete,
No.
Alder Land, Alder Perez,
Yes.
Alder Kelly,
Aye.
Alder Harmon,
No.
Alder Pavone,
Aye.
Alder Frazier,
No.
Alder Townsend,
Aye.
Alder Davis,
Aye.
Alder Mack,
Aye.
Alder Jorgensen,
No.
Alder Widener. 8 ayes, 6 noes.
The veto is sustained and not overridden. Alder Horton, could you please read the next item on the mayor's report?
0657-25, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason on behalf of General Fortunes for Seminole requesting permission to close Festival Hall parking lot on July 15, 2025 from 5 a.m. until 3 p.m. for paralyzed veterans of America in order to accommodate and anticipate 25+ side loading wheelchair lifts who require 2 parking spaces. Staff recommendation to approve.
The motion, is that a motion, Alder?
Yes.
The motion to approve by Alder Horton, seconded by Alder Mack. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, when the clerk calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Alder Horton,
Aye.
Alder Escada,
Aye.
Alder Allen, Alder Pete,
Aye.
Alder Land, Alder Perez,
Aye.
Alder Kelly, Alder Harmon, Alder Pavone, Alder Frazier,
Aye.
Alder Townsend,
Aye.
Alder Davis,
Aye.
Alder Mack,
Aye.
Alder Jorgensen,
Aye.
Alderman Widener.
Aye.
15 ayes, 0 noes.
That item passes. Alder Horton, read the last item.
0668-25, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason submitting the following appointments: Teresa Johnson to the Board of Health for a term expiring April 30th, 2027. Which approve.
The motion to approve it by Alder Horton, seconded by Alder Mack. Discussion on this item. Being none, when the clerk calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Alder Horton,
Aye.
Alder Escada, Alder Allen, Alder Pete,
Aye.
Alder Land, Alder Perez,
Aye.
Alder Kelly,
Aye.
Alder Harmon,
Aye.
Alder Pavone, Alder Frazier,
Aye.
Alder Townsend. Alder Davis. Alder Mack. Alder Jorgensen. Alderman Widener. 15 ayes, 0 nos.
We now move on to the consent agenda. At this time, Alder Burton, I entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
The motion to approve the consent agenda with multiple seconds. All those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the consent agenda passes. We now move on to common council announcements. Announcements are limited to recognition of city residents and employees, memorials, and non-political community events, inspection of matters related to governmental business is prohibited. Are there announcements of the meeting? Alder Mack.
Thank you. I'd like to wish everyone a happy and safe 4th of July. I encourage you to come out to our 4th of July parade, which starts out in the 4th district, goes through the festive 4th district. The fireworks are in the festive 4th district, and then proceeds through the 1st district, and I believe 2nd district. Before stopping at the Golden Rondell. So pre-parade kicks off at 8:30 in the morning. The parade kicks off at 9 o'clock, and you can start camping out at 5 a.m. along Main Street and other parts of the parade route. The last thing I'd like to mention is this past week, former Alderman Ron Hart passed away. Ron was a long time alderman here in the city of Racine. He was active with the Racine Raiders. He's in the minor league Hall of Fame. He was just a wonderful, great guy and a great colleague. And I was hoping it might be appropriate to have a little moment of silence for him.
It would. Anything else? Other announcements? Alder Price.
Thank you, Ron. We come together today with heavy hearts to honor and remember the recent loss of those who stepped forward to serve and protect us, our courageous first responders. On Thursday evening, June 26th, 2 Milwaukee police officers, Kendall Porter, 32 years old, and his 29-year-old partner responded to a weapons call at 25th and Garfield. As they stepped from their squad car, they were ambushed in a deadly alley attack. Both were shot. Officer Porter remained on life support for 3 days before succumbing to his injuries early Sunday morning. His partner survived after hospitalization. Officer Porter's death marked the 6th Milwaukee police officer lost to gun violence since 2018. And our firefighter brothers and sisters, other first responder losses, Battalion Chiefs Frank Harwood and John Morrison were ambushed and killed on June 29 in Port d'Alene, Idaho, while battling a deliberately set wildfire. Fire engineer David Tisto was critically wounded. Major Roger Leslie Leatherman, a dedicated 39-year veteran firefighter, EMT in Kentucky, died heroically on May 16, shielding his wife during a tornado. And dispatcher Amanda Freed of Moore, Oklahoma, succumbed to cancer after 4 years of serving her community with calming voice and chaos. We lately there's been a lot of first responder deaths, and not unusual, but when they come so close together, it really makes a mark, not only in their community, but in the adjoining communities, since we also have firefighters and police officers in our community. Let's remember to honor their memory, show support, prayers for their family, and remember, in our case, to bolster and expand the protections against targeted violence, include mandatory mental health support and peer counseling, and enhanced protocols and equipment readiness. We, as a common council, need to take these and make these priorities here in our community. We've experienced a lot of neighborhood unrest lately, and in the last 5-6 years, we've also had an officer get killed defending us. And so we've had firefighters who have cancer because of the foam that they use in fighting fires. And we've had to address those issues. So I encourage us to continue to pray for our first responders especially, and to move forward with legislation to support and embrace the work they do and make it better for them and their families. Thank you.
Thank you. Other announcements? Any other announcements? Alder Pavone.
I just want to wish everyone a happy, safe 4th, and I'll see a lot of my colleagues at the Fourth of July parade. Exciting, that my nieces are really excited. That's only because they get to ride in the car, but we'll pretend it's really for stuff, so. Everyone have a happy and safe Fourth. Some people will not make it through the weekend with all of their fingers, so just please be safe and look out for each other and watch out for the heat too, because it sneaks up on you.
Alder Harmon.
I also wanted to wish all a happy 4th of July. I want to say that I'm excited to ride with many of the alders that are gonna be in the parade. Thank you, Alder Allen, for arranging that and organizing that. And I also hope that everyone is safe and that they enjoy memorable times with them.
Alder Davis.
I have to say, I like to welcome my McMorris and Peterson family to Racine for our 2025 family reunion, which will take place over the 4th of July weekend. So we'll be in Racine in full force. Racine unites us. Thank you.
Thank you. Other announcements? I just want to give a shout out to the Fourth Fest board that has done a lot of planning all year to get ready for one of the biggest events of the year for the city of Racine. It's one of the things the city known for is a fantastic 4th of July parade and the fireworks that go along with it. I just want to give a shout out to Alder Mack, who for years has worked on this board and helped make this event a success. So kudos to Alder Mack for all of his work to make the Fourth Fest and the 4th of July so enjoyable for the rest of the. So if there are no other announcements at this time, oh, I'm sorry, Alder Am. Oh.
One, and I don't know if I've heard it's mentioned, but former Alder Poe is going to be receiving an award during this year's fest, so congratulations to former Alder Poe.
Alder, congratulations to former Alder Cole, Alder Lane, do you have anything?
Yeah, I attended Nick Ramsey's family reunion festival at Johnson's Park in Racine this Saturday. My first time going to the event. It's a wonderful event and it was really like a family reunion to see everybody out there. It was a lot of fun, a wonderful event. I won a basket. And I just gotta give them hands up for doing that work. It's a wonderful event and I'll be going from now on.
All right. Other announcements? Seeing none, all report, would you like to make a motion to adjourn?
Let's adjourn.
Is there a second? Multiple seconds, all those in favor of adjournment, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, that motion carries, we are adjourned.